quoting here, Nuno. Bobby Marks, I'm quoting Bobby Marks, our very own Bobby Marks, former Nets executive, current ESPN front office insider. Lakers could potentially create roughly $17 million in room if they let Malik Beasley, Mo Bamba, and D'Angelo Russell go.
Bye.
So they would save more money than that, but I guess this is $17 million in room under the cap because, you know, teams can grandfather in stuff that lets them bust through the cap. The Lakers have announced that they've officially extended qualifying offers to Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves. Both are now restricted free agents, so the Lakers have the right to match any offer they get. Here's Rob Pelinka, Lakers GM, on his desire to keep the core together. Listen to this.
We want to try our hardest to keep this core of guys together and also improve around the edges and on the margins to not only get back to where we were last year, but hopefully take the next step, get into the NBA Finals. There's a lot of parity in the league right now, and everyone smells an opportunity to chase a championship, but we're going to try our best to stay in that pack or at the head of that pack.
You know what the problem is to me, guys, for the Lakers right now? Look, anything could happen. You know, Jokic or Murray could get compromised physically somehow, even if they don't miss time, and the Lakers maybe could get over the top. But the difference now for the Lakers is if you had LeBron James, you had a strategic advantage against anyone. He was just better than everyone. But that's Jokic now. Jokic better than LeBron. And so if Jamal Murray shows up big in the playoffs as he does, I don't think you just need to improve on the margins. I think you need the rest of your team to be better than the rest of the Nuggets team. Like, I know they were in every game and they just kind of threw it together at the trade deadline, but they did get swept. Nuggets are very, very good.
So what are you suggesting?
I think they need to figure out a way to get, it doesn't have to be a max contract type guy, but it's got to be a special kind of player who can elevate under pressure. It's got to be someone where you go, oh, wait a minute, that makes a lot of sense. Not just, hey, we keep this core and we add a little piece over here to get over the top.
I think you keep the core.
Who's the core?
I was about to say, which is LeBron, AD, Austin Reeves, Hachimura.
Mm-hmm.
That's the core. Now you go out there and you don't have to get a Kyrie or a James Harden, but you get something close enough to the point where they could score, defend. Then you get the rest of the pieces to put around them. Because even though they were swept,
they were in every game.
They were in every single game. Yep. With a team that was put together late. Wasn't a team that started off in October together.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I value that. And I think they value that. This is why Rob is saying what he's saying.
Well, so, I mean,
but I don't know the players that's out there that I'm talking about.
No, it's all good. I mean, that's why I'm here for the most part.
Vanderbilt's good. Like, you have some pieces that...
So, like, if this thing starts to get a little bit out of... Like, what is your comfort level with Austin Reeves?
Paying him?
Because everybody keeps saying, like, you know, when you go on TV and people say, well, I'm doing whatever it takes to bring back Austin Reeves and Rui. I'm like, what does that actually mean? Because everybody, like, you have this hard cap now. Everybody's talking about the second apron. So if he's a restricted free agent, they can match any offer. But if somebody were to come and throw $130 million at him for 5 years, you're going to do that? Are you going to overextend yourself for
$130?
I'm probably going to cap it out at 100.
25 a year over 4 years.
Yeah.
That sounds like the number, right?
Yeah, I'm probably capping it out at 100.
Between Bron, AD, and then that, I mean, you're pushing. You're depending upon what you get Rui for. So then your margins become conversations around guys like Javon Carter. Now, nobody's going to know who that name is, but like, he shot over 40% from the three-point line and over 45% from the field and is a great defender. You have to start replacing guys like Dennis Schroeder, right? Like, you have to look at guys like Josh Richardson, like, who is a decent three-point shooter but can kind of be a glue guy like a KCP. But essentially, who played for Denver, who played a critical role. But essentially what you're saying is then with that core, those four, that you feel like that four is good enough to go against the Denver's four with the margins.
Here's the problem. The team that looks like the magnet for those players who are ring chasing, and it's all over media now, right, is the Suns. If you're a player, you want to chip up, and you're like,
they need the margins.
And also, they have the minutes to give you because their minutes are taken up. If they move DeAndre Ayton, they only got 3 starters, really. So
they're not going to move Ayton.
But if they do, I think there's a good chance that they do. However, they're posturing now. You can fill out the roster. If you're the Suns and you move Ayton and you get 2 to 3 rotation pieces, now not all of them may be starters. If you're a guy who's been hanging around and you're good and you've made your money, you might want to go there instead of the Lakers.
I don't think there's a market for Ayton. I don't want to turn the conversation to Ayton.
Yeah.
I just don't think that market for Ayton is
okay.
what
But let's
people
say
think
he's
it
on the
is.
team. Let's say there's still a lot of minutes to go around on the Phoenix Suns,
agreed.
right?
Yeah.
Even if Ayton's on the team. So the type of players who used to look at a LeBron team and go, I'm going to go to that. They need some depth. Oh, I'm going to get some run.
But you are not factoring in the fact that, again, and Jake's gonna hate this, it's still the Lakers, dog.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a bit of a magnet. No doubt.
Yeah, you know the dudes, Jay. You know how it
I
is.
hear you.
It's still
It's LA.
And there's a certain recruiting method that the LeBron James crew puts together to get what they need from certain guys.
I'm not arguing that you're right. They will be able to attract some, but I'm just saying there is more competition for that type of player who a LeBron team would usually, they could fill out. Oh, they got him really on the cheap. That dude might want to go to Phoenix.
If you
now.
just think, that may be true.
Which is kind of close to LA too. You still
it ain't the same. Don't you dare.
No, I'm not saying.
It might as well be like Frank and say the Bronx or West Palm Beach.
Right.
Vero Beach.
I'm not saying it's the same. I'm saying if you need to get to LA, it's a little puddle jump.
I understand what you're saying, but Max, when you think about it, you look at that team that was in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of LeBron and AD, you had some sprinkles around. They went on to win a championship.
KCP.
You had sprinkles around. And I think they still, with the 4 core guys, they can get some sprinkles around them because Austin Reeves is really good, man.
Yeah.
He's a really good basketball player.
Two-way player.
You do
Yes.
you do need some pieces though defensively though as well, like some stoppers on the perimeter.
It would if they got either,
And you need shooting.
if they got a guard who
Like
could
Seth Curry?
create off the dribble, or not both, but or a legit 3-and-D guy for the starting lineup. Like if you just slid a legit 3-and-D guy, into the starting lineup, you'd look at the Lakers and be like, okay, they can go.
Are they still? Or is Draymond Green off the board?
I mean, if Dre's going for 25-30 million a year,
Lakers
he's
got
not on the
17.
board.
But I don't know what they're. I don't know. Maybe there's a different conversation because of the relationship that someone has with Draymond. That those numbers might be a certain way. Just.
I mean, well, that certain person has relationships with Fred VanVleet as well. I mean,
Jay.
Clutch represents everybody right now. It feels like in free agency.
Lance is in Baltimore. He's originally from New York, and he's a little upset at you.
I mean,
Yeah, Lance, what's your beef with Jay?
Baltimore?
Listen, I'm beside myself. I literally I've exited my body, and I'm standing next to myself with Jay Will because he said something, and I'll paraphrase. He said that 3% of the players from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Nope. See, you misheard, Lance.
Currently today, like that. Or
I said no. I didn't say
only
from.
3 of them can hang.
Nope. I said from the 60s. From the 60s. I didn't say 70s and 80s. I specifically said the 60s.
And he's saying if they know nothing about today's game, you just pluck them out
from
of the 60s
and you drop them in.
What do you think it would be in the 80s, Lance? If you just you can't train today. They haven't. You just pluck them out of 1985 and drop them in today. What percentage would be play in the NBA?
Well, they certainly wouldn't be. They wouldn't not make it back on the other end of the court because they find that they got hit.
In the 80s? People weren't playing defense in the early 80s.
No, that's not what he said.
The game was legislated differently.
The game was way different. I'm with you, Lance.
What he's saying is,
it
would be so rough that they wouldn't get back down on the other end.
Hold on, Lance. So let me ask you: if you were, because I think you misheard me.
Fouled out 5 minutes.
You may be close to agree with me. If you were, what percentage of players in the 60s? If you were to drop with their skill set in the 60s in today's game in 2023, what percent do you think will play in the league?
70%.
70%?
No, that's not correct.
Lance, what?
So consider this. In the 60s, they spent all 4 years in college refining their game.
Yeah, but what was the
now,
game, Lance? The game was not as advanced.
In the 60s that played other sports there were some guys that played basketball that really played football too. You know what I mean? So you have guys now that are pure basketball players.
Yes.
Right? But you just had general athletes.
That's my point, though. Lance, you're making my point, brother.
That was our whole conversation.
And Jay is saying, and Jay and Key and I am all saying that if you took them, dropped them today, and they went and trained for a little while, doing what the athletes do today, picked up some things, they'd be fine. But that's not what Jay said. Jay's like, you just pluck them out and just drop them into today's game.
No, they would get run out of the building.
Right, of course.
If you took the same metrics and skill set and what they did in that day and era, and you tried to drop, they wouldn't be.
But if you took them and raised them up, or they trained today, then in different stories.
Yeah, different story. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
My turn to upset football fans, guys.
Oh no!
I'm going to give you my top 5 NFL fan bases. KJM.
You know,